Hello everyone, have a blessed day, especially to our instructor, Ma'am Jennifer Diamante. First, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Michelle Jodima Pachico from BSS W1A, and now I'm going to present my research proposal. The, the topic of my research is Novel SARS-CoV-2 virus explorations of vital impact of the novel coronavirus pandemic to the emotional status of teenagers. For this research consists the abstract. The topic was explored by the researcher because individuals should know what teenagers are going through during the pandemic. This research aimed to know and explore the vital impact of the novel coronavirus pandemic on the emotional status of teenagers. As the virus continues to spread, many young people are experiencing great sadness and ruin of their future because of this system around. And for my background of the study, because of the unexpected spread of coronavirus disease, there was a pandemic, particularly in the Philippines. The arrival of pandemic has a variety of consequences, particularly for children. However, the focus of this study is on teenagers and their emotional state as a result of the pandemic. There have been few studies that shows an increase in teen emotional breakdowns since the pandemic. As a result, the purpose of this study is to learn about the even more serious effect of COVID-19 on teenagers, to gain a better understanding of why an increasing number of teenagers are experiencing emotional breakdowns. This research will be supported by the facts in a study from the Healthy Children Organization's 2018, Mental Health During COVID-19, Signs Your Child may need more support. This study supports this topic because it provides the information that the ongoing stress, fear, grief, and uncertainty created by COVID-19 pandemic has waned heavy on children and teens. And for my statement of the problem, this part of the research focused on the problem that is to be answered in furthermore chapter in this study in terms of the explorations of the vital impact of coronavirus pandemic and the emotional status of teenagers. This research have three questions. First is, what is the impact of coronavirus pandemic and the emotional status of teenagers? How does this emotional aspect affect teenagers and their emotional status? Why teenagers are those one who is affected in this aspect? And for my objective of research, the researcher objective is to explore the vital impact of coronavirus pandemic and the emotional status of the teenagers. This research was performed out to increase awareness among individuals about the potential impact of the current pandemic on them. The research is important to get the right solutions to a specific problem or issue of coronavirus in adolescents and to resolve the emotional state of teenagers. This is for young people to understand about the potential impact of pandemic on each other. And for my significance of the study, this study is beneficial to teenagers, community, and parents. For teenagers, it will be advantageous to teenagers because it will aid them to be even more answered of the emotions and become emotionally mature, which is particularly important given that the pandemic is still ongoing. For the community is one of the beneficiaries of a researcher look into the critical impact of the coronavirus pandemic on emotional well-being. Further to that, the community will be knowledgeable of this study and may be able to contribute to the knowledge of individuals in the community. And for the parents is, this study will be beneficial to parents because in addition to their children, they will be more aware as a parents and will be able to guide their children more effectively, especially if they have a teen child, we can see here the importance of parental awareness in order for them to guide their children's emotional status. And for my scope and limitations, this research will be perceived by random selected teenagers in Barangay Tinigiban in Puerto Princesa City, Palawan, Philippines in year of 2022. Due to time constraints, this research will only be conducted on a small populations. The respondents' personal information is not covered in the research as they have the right of the privacy. The study will only look into the critical impact of the coronavirus pandemic on teenagers' emotional well-being. Other topics that are unrelated to the stated topic will not be discussed or recovered. According to Osterhoff Wilson in Shock 2020, youth who engaged in social distancing to avoid social judgment reported more anxiety symptoms in those who were social distancing because of friends' recommendations reported greater depressive symptoms, which may reflect difference in symptomatic youth and sensitivity to social judgment or poor rejection. Rural communities, foreigners in psychiatric patients appear to be at higher risk for this type of mental health impact. And according to David Hurst 2020, an emotional breakdowns describe a period of overwhelming mental distress. During this time of psychological disorder, a person suffering cannot function in their everyday life. Mental breakdowns has a negative side effective to the one who have it. The book Anxiety Conversations by Hurst 2002, there are symptoms of emotional breakdown such as insomnia, emotional outbursts including anger, panic, attack, depressions, anxiety, and etc. My methodology, research designs. The researcher will use qualitative style because this study covers methods that are useful for providing rich descriptions of the topic, exploring the vital impact of coronavirus and emotional status of teenagers. Respondents in sampling procedures use a random sampling procedure with a selected teenagers in Barangay Tinigiban, Puerto Princesa City. Research approach. The research will conduct the case study approach because this study aims to further study a topic in depth. Research instruments. The researcher will survey questionnaire that will be put into the Google form. The researcher will provide the link to the respondents so that they can access and answer the survey questionnaire. For my results in discussions, this survey questionnaire was answered by 10 respondents, 5 female and 5 male. The color green mark is the percentage of respondents who answered dominantly and agree or disagree in the statement, while the red one is the lesser mark of the statement. In number 1 question, 100 of the respondents agree in the statement, while the disagree has 0%. In number 2 question, 80% agree to the statement and 20% of it disagree. Number 3 question, 100% disagree and 0% in the agree. In number 4 question, 60% agree to the statement and 40% of the respondent disagree to the statement. In number 5 questions, 90% agree to the statement that they must have a face-to-face conversation while their friends, while 10% disagree in the statement. In number 6 question, 70% of respondents disagree and 30% agree on the statement. In number 8 question, 70% of respondents agree and 30% disagree in the statement. In number 9 question, 90% of the respondents are disagree and 10% of the respondents are disagree. And for the last question is number 10, 90% of respondents agree to the statement and 10% disagree on the statement. And for my conclusion, according to the analysis of this research, the number of questions who has a negative attribute to the teenagers has been agreed by the 100% of the respondents will conclude that the most common impact of coronavirus pandemic in the emotional status of teenager is that they often feel sad. This is because pandemic has a set social distancing for everyone where individuals should follow to have a limit in their distance to the other people. Moreover, this pandemic caused a self-isolation which has negative impact for teenagers who experience, especially teenagers who have experienced COVID themselves. Having the feeling of always being sad shows loneliness in individuals. This affects the teenagers to have emotional breakdowns. So that's all. Thank you for watching and listening.